Is music dead? The short answer, in my opinion, is no. But the long answer is far more complicated. Let's break it down. Music can't possibly be dead, because streaming platforms tell a different story. Popular artists are constantly gaining new followers, and legacy artists continue to thrive with dedicated fan bases that push their numbers even higher. It's proof that music is still a driving force in the culture. Music is an integral part of the human experience. It always has been. Think about it. People listen to music in almost every aspect of life. On the way to the gym, at the gym, in the shower, in the car, when they're sad, when they're feeling nostalgic, or even when they're just looking for an escape. Music is deeply embedded in our emotions, our experiences, and our memories. It's a soundtrack to everything. Celebrations, heartbreaks, the mundane moments, the milestones. It helps us express things we can't articulate. It has this unique ability to take you back in time. You don't forget how a certain song made you feel at a specific point in your life. So no, music isn't dead. But like everything else, it's changing. And in some ways, it's slowly fading. And I'm not just talking about any one genre or artist. I mean music consumption as a whole. It's still relevant, sure, but it doesn't hold the same weight in culture as it once did. The way we interact with music has fundamentally shifted. It used to be a centerpiece of cultural movements, an underlying force. Now, it feels like it's scattered in a sea of algorithms, playlists, and endless recommendations. It's harder to have those unifying music moments that bring people together across generations or social lines. It feels like we're in an era where everything is individualized. Music isn't as relevant as it used to be. Now, I'm an adult, and I can remember back when I was a senior in high school, music was everything to me. It was therapy. Even pop music, which I didn't pay much attention to, had its place in my world. At that time, music wasn't just something I listened to. It was something I lived and breathed. It felt like music was the soundtrack to my life, guiding me through the chaos of being a teenager. And that connection was raw, real, and personal. Music had power. The power of hearing a song and instantly being transported back to a different time. That's something special. The way a song can take you back to that exact moment. The way it feels like everything around you fades and you're right back there, feeling all those emotions again. It's incredible. And I'm the type of person who listens to anything if it makes me feel something. If it resonates, I'm in. One of my strongest memories is from when my family moved out of Section 8 housing into a home that my dad bought for us. It was a huge moment. I can still remember the smell of fresh paint, the feeling of freedom, and the sound of my siblings and me singing along to the radio while painting a bedroom. The song? Mayberry by Rascal Flatts. That song will always have a special place in my heart because it's tied to such a vivid memory, a fresh start for my family. Or the summer of '06, riding on a yellow school bus with my headphones in, listening to Starless by Crossfade. That song was the soundtrack to a time when everything felt both uncertain and exciting. Moments like those are burned into my memory, all because of music. And maybe I'm just getting older, because music doesn't seem to have the same lasting impact on people as it used to. I don't see as many people around me forming the deep, lasting connections to music that I once did. And maybe that's a sign of the times, but it feels like something is missing. The underground scene and less mainstream music. I've always loved discovering independent artists, musicians who create purely for the love of music without industry influence or financial backing. There's something raw and honest about it. It feels like a reminder that music can be about pure expression rather than commercial success. Growing up, I sought out artists and bands far from the mainstream. Back then, if a rock band got too big, their sound would start to lean more pop-friendly. But groups like Fugazi, or even more wide-known acts like Sunny Day Real Estate, kept their authenticity intact. These were bands that didn't compromise their sound for the sake of mass appeal. It was about the music and the message, first and foremost. Today, rock no longer holds the torch for indie artists the way that it used to. That role has shifted to hip-hop. If you want to discover underground artists grinding their way up, hip-hop is where you look. Hip-hop has become the genre of rebellion, self-expression, and raw storytelling. It's where you find the new wave of independent artists making waves without the backing of major labels. Take the drill scene in Chicago. It's a prime example of independent artists telling raw, unfiltered stories of struggle. In many ways, it mirrors the DIY movement of punk and alternative rock from decades past. Artists in that scene are telling real stories from the streets, and it's powerful because it's coming from a place of authenticity, not manufactured success. Does music still connect with people? I've been obsessed with music since I was a teenager, teaching myself guitar and studying song structures, listening to music not just for enjoyment, but to understand why it worked, what patterns and emotions made certain songs hit harder. I wanted to understand the why behind a song's power, the structure, the rhythm, the lyrics, the emotions. It all fascinated me. That analytical approach is a blessing and a curse. Some people can just enjoy music for what it is. I can't help but dissect it. I hear things other people might not notice, and sometimes I wish I could just experience a song without thinking too much about it. But for better or worse, that's part of who I am now. But here's the real question. Does music today still connect with young people the way it did for previous generations? Back in the day, songs like I Hate Everything About You by 3 Days Grace or The Clincher by Chevelle spoke to me. They made me feel seen, like the artist understood my struggles. The music was a lifeline during tough times. It gave me an outlet when I needed it most. The artists were singing about things that I could relate to. The frustration, the anger, the confusion. It felt like we were on the same wavelength. Now, I love artists like FBG Duck and LA Capone, but I can't personally relate to the realities they rap about. I didn't grow up in the streets, and I don't live that life. And honestly, most of their fan base probably can't either. The people who do live that life aren't sitting around analyzing music. They're living it. They don't need to dissect it. They experience it as part of their reality. The disconnect is real, and it makes me wonder if music today still holds the same connection to the average person, especially the younger generation. And that brings me to something else. Since the rise of the internet, school violence has skyrocketed. And I'm not saying a lack of connection to music is to blame for that, but I will say that, for me, music was an outlet. It kept me grounded. It saved me from myself. Music gave me a way to express things I couldn't say out loud. It gave me a sense of belonging when I felt isolated. It was my therapy, and I wonder if that's still true for kids today. Does music still play that role for them? Is it enough to provide the same kind of emotional release that it gave me when I was struggling?